Everyone, my name is Champika Liyanage and I'm from the School of Engineering in University of Central Lancashire, UK. This session will be about university industry partnerships, and I will start by highlighting some gaps existing in university industry partnerships and how some of these gaps can be fulfilled using some of the models already available in university industry partnerships. Due to the time limitations, I will only explain about one or two models in depth. And also I will talk about a successful example of university industry partnerships in Sri Lanka. And finally, I will end the presentation by highlighting some of the benefits of UIPs, as I call them, and some tips for a greater collaboration. The gaps were identified from a completed project called Ascent, which was conducted from 2016 to 2019. Ascent stands for Advancing Skills Creation for Enhancing Transformation. UCLan was one of the partners in this project, and we were also the co-lead of a work package that conducted data collection. So as part of the project, we conducted 181 semi-structured interviews with the collaboration of 8 partner institutions. These were universities in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. And these 181 interviews were conducted as part of the research in order to identify research and innovation in disaster resilience. And one of the questions was the type of external links these universities have for enhancing research and innovation in disaster resilience. Out of the 181 participants, only 60 of them mentioned about industry links, so just about 1/3. The highly or frequently mentioned one was international links, so more than half of the interviewees mentioned that they do work with international academics or researchers, whereas only 60%, 1/3, are working with the industry. This is a very low number. Although the industry links came within the top 3 links that the academics and researchers have, this number 1/3 is very low compared to perhaps other countries in the world. And when analyzed further, or when queried further, in terms of this 60 academics, they mentioned that the most frequent type of university industry partnership that they use is knowledge transfer projects. So about 29 of them mentioned that they have knowledge transfer projects with the industry. Again, this number is very low given that we had participants from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. And specifically 3 institutions from Sri Lanka, but only 2 mentioned having knowledge transfer projects with the industry. And some mentioned the second most frequently identified item was working closely with the industry on a specific project or co-research project. This was mentioned by 17. And the rest were very, lowly mentioned, such as student exchange or internships and so on. So as you can see, a clear gap exists in university industry partnerships in the context of Sri Lanka and perhaps Bangladesh and Thailand as well. The number involved in linking with the industry is very low, and at the same time, it's the way that the types of university industry partnership they also have. Some of the types that they could use more have not been used to the extent that they should be. And apart from the interview analysis, we conducted a questionnaire as well after the interviews. So altogether 611 responses were collected from the same universities, 8 universities, specifically from academic staff and research staff. So when asked one of the questions about their involvement in with the industry, whether they think involving industry in their research is beneficial, more than 70% of the respondents did say that they strongly agree with the statement that it's beneficial for academic and research staff's research work. However, when asked about 3 questions about their involvement with industry partners, whether they have access to industry funds, or whether they have initiated or designed a project involving industry as one of the partners, many of their answers were no. So it was a clear case of a clear case showing that that there is a lack of industry engagement in the academia in Thailand, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. And when we went on to asking what are their barriers, so that it is clear that there's a lack of engagement, and therefore when we went on to ask the barriers that may be stopping them from engaging with the industry, some of the main barriers of the 4 main barriers came as different expectation between the industry partner and the university came as the number 1 barrier, because many of them mentioned or highlighted that university has different kind of their main expectations could be research outputs in terms of papers, whereas the industry partners' expectations could be an IP or technical solutions and so on. So these different expectations, when they don't marry with each other, it's difficult to continue a successful industry partnership. And also some of the academic staff and research staff mentioned not having a policy support to enhance such collaboration. That also came as the number 2 barrier during our questionnaire survey analysis. And third came as the lack of networking platforms for them to maybe for academic and researchers to identify or to collaborate with the industry partners, or to identify who to collaborate with. So lack of networking platform was also one of the main barriers. And finally, intellectual property rights. And this was mentioned even during interviews, identifying ownership of the IPR and issues relating to IPR was again mentioned as one of the main barriers during the questionnaire survey. So given some of these gaps of lack of industry collaboration and given some of the barriers mentioned, I thought the next part of this session should focus on type of industry models or university industry models that we perhaps can be used. We perhaps can use to further enhance the UIP context in Sri Lanka. One of the main ones could be knowledge transfer partnerships. It's happening to some extent, but not a lot. Only 30 or 29 out of the 180 interviewees mentioned having some of these KTPs or conducting some of these KTPs as part of their academic role. And the second could be innovation vouchers. There could be spin-out companies or even business incubators, and many more. There could be technology transfer models. So there could be many more models that can be used to bridge this university industry gap. Due to time limitations, I will not actually go on to talk about all these, but I will talk about knowledge transfer partnerships because when we, although 29 interviews having knowledge transfer partnerships with the industry. When talked about how they conduct it, it was not exactly some other findings reveal that the things that some of the things that the academics do currently are not exactly in the form of a KTP. So let's identify what a KTP really is. A KTP in the UK context, it is a part government funded program to obviously encourage collaboration between the industry and the universities. Usually a KTP involves 3 partners. Obviously, one partner is the company. So it can be a private enterprise, it can be a public body, or it can be a voluntary agency even. The second partner or the second party should be obviously a university, and we call university in a KTP partnership, we call the university as the knowledge base. And finally, a KTP associate. This could be a recently qualified graduate. A KTP associate's role is very important in a KTP because they will be the link between the company and the university. Usually a KTP could go from 1 to 3 years. That's depending on the funding availability and the requirements that the company has in order to make the partnership successful. Usually a KTP involves where business actually is trying to, an industry partner is trying to bring in new skills or latest academic thinking to deliver a specific or strategic innovation project through the use of university's knowledge base. And these kind of KTPs actually do provide a lot of benefits. One main thing could be raising the profile. Because especially when a KTP becomes a successful project, it can gain a significant amount of press. And not only that, it can actually lead to other successful KTPs as well. For an example, one of our colleagues within School of Engineering, who's very successful in conducting KTPs, won the University Industry Partnership Award during the UK HIFKI, that's the Higher Education Academy Awards in 2018. And that success of completing the KTP project and success of getting the award then led to him in getting a further 2 million from the university and the company to further to take their work further for another KTP project with the same company. So there are so many benefits, and raising the profile of the university and the academic is one of the main things. And also KTPs actually provide, KTPs actually provide an opportunity to identify new research themes. This will involve a lot of discussions with as well as the university. So a lot of brainstorming sessions could identify or pave the pathway to identify new research schemes. Also, the experience of conducting a KTP or doing a KTP can actually feed back into teaching, particularly because the academic staff or research staff will be gaining more in-depth practical knowledge as far as the industry is concerned, and they can improve their teaching materials and teaching kind of course materials and teaching their teaching itself using the knowledge gained through industry partnership. So that will lead to more practical approaches to teaching and practical kind of lectures as well, practical lectures where students will be not just benefiting through theoretical knowledge but practical knowledge as well. And also having that partnership with the industry can lead to many more student placements, which can improve students' employability skills in the future. And as mentioned earlier as well, having a ongoing collaboration with the industry and successfully completing them could lead to many other benefits. For an example, it might actually lead to further projects, or it can actually help in validating some other academic research findings too. And from academics point of view, it can result in number of papers or conference presentations too, which will in turn raise the profile of the academic and the university. How do you start a KTP? I'll explain the UK process. So first of all, obviously, you need to identify an industry partner who's willing to collaborate and who's willing to collaborate, and also who has an issue or who has the desire to address an issue within the company. Sometimes rather than you searching for a suitable industry partner, sometimes the industry partner themselves can approach universities with regard to some of the problems they are having, and some of the problems that may be needing urgent attention to solve. In that case, it's very essential that you as an academic are part of a database, university or KTP database, if something like that exists, highlighting your expertise, because then the knowledge transfer coordinator within the university, looking at your profile, can approach you to link you to the company that needs urgent solutions. Usually the application, the KTP process involves an application process where you apply for part funding from the government. In the UK context, this is Innovate UK, and it's a government funded body. And before that, obviously, before you filling in the application, it will involve several brainstorming discussions with the industry partner in order to identify exactly what the industry partner needs and exactly what the work should involve. And the more innovative the solution you come up with, the more chances of winning the application that you are supporting, because Innovate UK, as the name implies, is geared towards supporting more innovative products or innovative solutions for companies. Apart from getting part funding from the government, the industry partner also needs to be paying some part of the funding towards this KTP partnership. Usually, we say in the UK the normal model is 2/3 by the government and 1/3 by the industry partner, but this could change depending on the company requirements or the robustness of the outcome or output that you come up with. And you as the academic, if you are the one who's filling in the application, and if you are the one who has the experience in the relevant KTP project, you will also have a knowledge advisor to guide you through. So this knowledge advisor could be somebody who already have prior experience of KTP projects, because sometimes you may have prior experience as well, but it's always good to have a advisor to guide you through, because success of a KTP project is very, very important for further collaborations, and therefore having some kind of gatekeepers like a knowledge advisor to monitor the progress, to solve any issues. If you come across any issues, the knowledge advisor could advise you as to how to go about addressing the issues. So having somebody like that will be very helpful. And some of the most important things when you are conducting or when you are doing a KTP is identifying intellectual property rights, identifying who owns the IPR, and maybe who share, like how much are you going to share as a university with the company, and agreeing on that particular path will be very, very important. Sometimes, depending on the outcome you come up with and the funding that the private company gives, the IPR could be solely owned by the private company or solely owned by the university, but it depends on the agreement and what you come up with. Otherwise, if you don't agree on some of these issues, after the project is completed, there could be, or even halfway through, there could be several issues between you, the university, and the industry partners. So solving some of these issues early on will be very good for a smooth partnership. I'll highlight some KTPs that we could do in disaster-related activities. So there's a lot of research needed in disaster resilience, especially when it comes to industry involvement. Some of the KTPs can be with local authorities. We can identify how to prioritize disaster risks in order to form associated strategies. We can actually talk to construction companies in improving resilience in buildings to disasters, and also talking with NGOs in forming effective disaster recovery plans. So there could be many more, and even evolving disaster vulnerability and resilience through involvement of school kids. So schools as another company could be another type of KTP. So there could be so many opportunities or so many areas in disaster resilience as well, if you are interested in some of these areas. And the second model that I will explain today is innovation vouchers. So innovation vouchers usually is a smaller version of a KTP. We usually say this could go from about 5,000 to 20,000 pounds or even 30,000 pounds. The difference is in here in the UK, innovation vouchers, due to the scale of the project, this will be partly funded by the university instead of the government, and partly funded by the company as well. So usually it involves two partners, the company and the university. But however, due to the workload of the academic involved as part of the university, sometimes, although it's a very small research project, sometimes depending on the funding availability or funding granted, you could use a recent graduate for a very short-term employment to fulfill the project requirements. The duration of the project could be 3 months to 1 year. And also some of the main reasons, I mean, KTP is a full-on innovative project, but innovation voucher could be the stepping stone for a larger KTP. So in identifying a business opportunity or identifying a gap in a company, so you doing a gap analysis in a particular company could be go as a innovation voucher project. Benefits of innovation vouchers: the more successful you do the innovation voucher, the more successful it can lead to a KTP. And also, although it's a very small project, the innovation vouchers can also raise your profile. Especially this is important for early career researchers or early career staff members as a stepping stone to the funding ladder. And also it provides similar benefits that we already discussed within the KTP projects. How do you start an innovation voucher? Again, this process is moreover similar to KTPs. However, in a very smaller scale compared to the KTP. Usually, you submit the application to the university funding body or university funding grant unit, or there is a within the EU there is a EU Commission executive agency for small and medium enterprises, and they give they have funding calls for innovation vouchers as well. So finding a suitable funding call for an innovation voucher can be useful. And as mentioned earlier, although we are submitting the application to the university, part funding will come through the company as well. But depending on the nature of the project and how successful it will lead to a KTP, you can encourage the university to fully fund it, so that company will be willing to collaborate with you because it's free of charge for them. But after the innovation voucher is finished successfully, they can then agree fully to go on a full-on KTP program where they have to part fund as well. So in order to attract the industry partners, doing a smaller project with full university funding could be a added benefit. I'll give an example. Successful university industry partnership in the context of Sri Lanka. That is, I found this within the University of Moratuwa profile. University of Moratuwa has established in 2001 something called University Industry Interaction Cell, UIIC, as a vehicle for fostering linkages with the industry. This is kind of a public-private partnership or a university-industry partnership. It's a self-financing entity, initially started by Faculty of Engineering, but later it has been expanded across the entire university. And UIIC has been established initially with the assistance of Asian Development Bank. And the key objectives of this UIIC are to identify public and private sector organizations that are willing to establish links with UOM in order to maybe carry out KTPs or any other forms of industry links, and move successful research projects to industry through joint R&D or consultancy, and identify and meet continuous R&D needs that are needed by the industry. So these are some of the things that they have done as part of their university industry linkages, and this is actually a very successful form of a university industry partnership. And the work have actually led for some of the staff to set up uni consultancy services as well, which is great. And I got this from this 2011 presentation to the World Bank. As part of, in order to address this university industry partnership gap in Sri Lanka, we as a university, UCLan as a university also took some initiatives. The main collaborator was Professor KDN Veerasinghe from formerly at University of Ruhuna. And with him, we conducted a workshop with the support of Ministry of Social Welfare and Primary Industries in March 2018. This was well attended by over 70 academics and researchers and about 5 then vice chancellors. We identified again, we further discussed about the barriers that are refraining staff from having industry linkages and some other best ways to move forward. Then we invited Professor Veerasinghe to come to UCLan to understand some of the university industry partnerships that we have. Specifically, he visited or he looked at some of our business incubation programs we have in the UK. And then we developed a 5-year roadmap in order to kind of slowly or kind of step by step addressing this UIP gap in Sri Lanka. And as part of the first step, we conducted an entrepreneur selection program for business incubation and venture creation. This was a 4-day workshop with about 120 to 150 students, and this was conducted in September 2018. Actually, this led to about 20 students submitting business incubator proposals to start their venture kind of ideas with the ministry. Why UCLan made these initiatives? It's purely because of the expertise that we have as a university. We are actually top 5 in the UK for graduate business startups, and first in the UK for graduate business startups to still thrive after 3 years, because not all startups will be successful within the first few years. And also we do have a fully functioning business incubation program called Propeller, and it supports many graduate startup businesses. And also we have a center for volunteering and community leadership that supports not just industry as a private company, but many NGOs or many community programs or social welfare across the UK and worldwide. We have many case studies that have been successful through these services. Why is this initiative of fulfilling the gap of university industry partnership is needed? Actually, in the current context of COVID and economic pressures that we are facing, it's very much needed now. Industry is, given the current challenges, there are many industry challenges, there are many government challenges, and also there are many challenges faced by the governments, and there are many challenges faced by the universities. So only a joint program or a collaboration can move us forward more effectively and efficiently. So in order to solve economic pressures, things like, many graduates will be facing job problems in the future. Hopefully not, but you never know. Future is uncertain. And due to the problems that government is facing due to current economic climate, there may be job losses. So therefore, having this is the best time, in my view, to actually create graduates that have holistic skills, not just with theoretical and practical knowledge, but with entrepreneurial initiatives as well. So some of these university industry partnerships actually could pave the way for creating more entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka. And there's a changing climate in funding everywhere, especially in higher education funding. So collaboration will be the way forward to identify or to develop more innovative products that will help both the university and the industry. And there are so many agendas changing agendas at the moment with the current climate. So engaging the community, widening participation, broadening student experience could actually, all these things could lead to a better future in the post-COVID context. And in terms of motivational factors for bridging this university industry gap, in the context of universities, they can actually access up-to-date technical knowledge from the industry. They can access industry information or practical knowledge. They can create entrepreneurial culture within the universities to make more, as I mentioned, more entrepreneurial students as graduates. And from the point of view of companies also, they can access university resources. They can have higher access to maybe government funding through the university collaborations, and they can recruit more talented students through student placement schemes or internships. And they can create a more innovation culture through schemes like KTPs as within their companies. So it is hoped that through these initiatives, engagement with external stakeholders will be strengthened within universities, and it could actually shift the learning, the university learning. It could shift from independent learning to more contextualize specific situations through apprenticeship schemes or placements, and also it could lead to more practical curriculum changes. And it could bring together the triple helix, the government, industry, and the universities, which could benefit the society and the societal values. And hopefully, as mentioned repeatedly, this will make the more industry initiatives or collaborations will make universities more entrepreneurial. Overall, we hope that through different models of industry partnerships, that we can create new knowledge. It's not just knowledge that we are getting from the industry, or not just the knowledge industry getting from the university that will be helpful, but through fusion or through brainstorming, hopefully it will lead to new knowledge, and also it will lead to more research horizons, and it will strengthen the research arguments that the academics academics who come up with them. And also having collaboration with the industry partners may reduce the likelihood of us academics making maybe somewhat unfounded assumptions, if I may say so. And also it may ensure, linking with the industry, it may ensure that our research is more grounded and practical. So finally, I'll show you something like this. So it's not just about knowledge or technology transfer from one entity to the other, but it's about knowledge sharing, which will lead to new knowledge creation, innovation, and maybe technology development. With that, I thank you for listening. Sorry, I went a little bit above. Any questions?